Hey folks, Patrick, welcome back to ShopTime, working on the 1943 Willys MB. With all the rusted sheet metal repaired and most of the sheet metal repairs for the rest of the tub being done, I wanted to put the tub back on the frame to make sure that everything was going to line up correctly before we did the final welding, particularly the spot welding of the inner fender wells and the back panel. So to get the frame and the tub mounted, I had to do a little adjusting first to the gas tank sump, which was a little bit out of place and it wouldn't quite let everything sit down correctly. I got that fixed, and then I went and put the fenders on. And the fenders also took a little bit of tweaking. And what it turns out that I bought replacements, if you recall from the earlier video, I bought replacement mounts for the front grille. And we also did a bunch of work to the front frame horns. I think between those two things, we're a little higher than we should be. And so the grill's sitting a little bit higher, which is in turn causing the fenders to be a little bit out of alignment. And so I'm probably going to have to cut down. I think my solution will be to slightly cut down the grill mounts. And with that, I think everything will line up a little bit better with a little less stress. So I did a bunch more work on the sides here just to fix some spots that I didn't like, to try to get all the last little ripples out and get this pretty flat. And it came out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it will mount up to the inner fender well really nicely. There's not much in the way of gaps. We shrunk a little bit on the corners on both sides to make that fit tight, and mounted the rear panel up and bolted it onto the rear cross member so we could really make sure that all the alignment looked the way it was supposed to. And again, I'm pretty pleased overall. There's a little tweaking we'll do before we finally put it together, but it's in pretty good shape. The other thing I spent a lot of time on the driver's side was getting the top rail in the back here all straightened out, and it's pretty close. It's got a little flash rust on it, but it's pretty close. It's pretty straight. I think it'll paint up nicely. Got to do the same thing to the other side. You'll see in just a second. We'll show you some video of the other side, and it needs a little work. This rear corner is also, I've fabbed a new rear corner for it on the top, and I'll weld that in once everything else is put in, but there's enough access for us to do a good job of that once everything's put back together again, and then I'll know for sure that I'm making it for a final time, because it will really tie this whole back together, and I don't want to be trying to move anything if I've got that in place. Quick welding tip, I read about this online and it works really, really well. Go to Online Metals or one of the other metal suppliers and buy yourself a nice thick piece of copper. And when you're going to fill a hole on the tub, make sure your metal is real clean and tightly clamp this behind the hole. And then you can see these little spots here. Start your MIG welder right on top of the copper, and it'll splatter a little bit, but it'll start heating the area up and just start building your hole up. And by the time you get to the outside, everything will be nice and hot and it'll melt right in. You'll get nice weld coverage and weld bonding, and you'll fill the hole up. Let it cool off, take this piece off the back of it. It'll be pretty flat. You can hit it up with a little die grinder on the front, hit it on the back, and you'll be good to go. So the last thing we did was a bunch more work on the floor, particularly the transmission hump area. If you recall, we had cut out, or somebody had cut it out first for a T90, and then we cut more of it out. I got replacement pieces from a couple of different people who helped me out, and I cobbled it all together and put it back into place. And we've pretty much done with it. It doesn't look very pretty right now because it's been pretty moist here this summer and into the fall, and so there's flash rust everywhere. I did a lot of cleaning and it was all bright metal at one point, so it looks really bad, but it's going to clean up real nice, and I think it'll look great once we get paint on it. So hope you enjoyed the tour. I'm pretty pleased with the way everything is coming out. The sheet metal looks pretty good, and I got to do a little bit more straightening here, and then we're going to be ready to spot weld those inner fender wells in and get that rear panel on. And then the tub's really going to be ready for a little more detail work, and we're going to start thinking about priming that thing and painting it. So I hope to be shooting these videos more regularly. We've got a pretty clear schedule in January, February, and I'm almost done installing heat in the shop, so we're not going to be freezing, hopefully. We'll see how that all works out. But we should be trying to do this a little bit more regularly. We've got a couple of cool things coming down the pike too. We're going to do a video on how to get your motor rebuilt. So we're going to take apart the Jeep motor, not for this particular one, but another 45 motor that I have. And we're going to take it apart. We're going to go visit my buddy at the machine shop and let him talk to us about what we should and shouldn't be doing. He'll inspect it, show us what he's going to do, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. So again, as always, like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe, share it with your friends, and keep those corner squares. Get out in your shop and make something.